Good evening. Can I have your name and date of birth?
Cesar Rocha.
Thank you, Mr. Rocha. You are here on allegations of new charges. The allegations against you are 2 counts of misdemeanor driving under the influence and 1 count of misdemeanor extreme driving under the influence. You are entitled to a court-appointed lawyer to defend you against these allegations. That lawyer will be appointed at your next court hearing by the next judge that you see. That court hearing will be an arraignment hearing November 21st at 8:30 in the morning in the El Centro Justice Court. I am releasing you on your own recognizance on these allegations, so you will be released from custody. That means it's going to be your responsibility to get yourself to that court hearing November 21st at 8:30. Once you are released from custody, you are prohibited from possessing or consuming any drugs without a valid prescription or any alcohol, and you cannot operate a motor vehicle if you do not have a valid driver's license once you're released. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rocha. You can step back and get your paperwork. Chester Roach, to the podium in the courtroom, please. Good evening, sir. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Chester Roach.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roach. You are here on 2 different matters. The first one is a probation violation warrant issued here in Maricopa County by the Maricopa County Superior Court. In that case, Maricopa County Adult Probation has filed a petition to revoke that probation. It alleges that you have violated terms 3, 5, and 15 of your probation. I have appointed a lawyer to represent you in that Maricopa County probation case. Your next court hearing in that matter will be a revocation arraignment November 12th at 8:30 in the probation court downtown. On that warrant, I have affirmed the bond. It is a $1,000 secured appearance bond. The second matter that you're here on, though, is an out-of-state probation violation warrant. That is a probation violation warrant issued by the state of Illinois. Before you were put on a court calendar on the Illinois warrant, Arizona confirmed with Illinois that is a valid warrant, and Illinois has indicated that they are willing to extradite you on that warrant. Before you came into the courtroom, did you get that big laminated card?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I read it.
You had an opportunity to review it?
Mm-hmm.
Very good, Mr. Roach. Okay. As I indicated, one of the 2 matters you're here on is an out-of-state warrant. It's a probation violation warrant issued by Illinois. Let me start by saying you're gonna have options to pick from on the Illinois warrant. I'll give you 2 choices. You'll have to tell me which one you want to pick. But regardless of which option you pick, because it is a probation violation warrant, you are not eligible for release on bond on the Illinois warrant. So we'll go through the 2 different options and what they mean and how they look, but regardless of which option you pick, on the Illinois warrant, you will be held in custody without bond.
Can I say something?
Let me get through what I have to first. We'll get to your statements or questions at the end. Okay. As I indicated, I'm going to give you 2 choices on the Illinois warrant. So you can choose to waive your right to an extradition hearing and agree to go back to Illinois on that warrant, or you can demand to have an extradition hearing held here in Arizona, and you can demand that governor's warrants are signed by Arizona and Illinois before you're returned. If you pick that first option and you waive your right to extradition proceedings here in Arizona, you are not waiving any defenses that you have to the probation proceedings in Illinois. You are only waiving your right to an extradition hearing, and you're agreeing to go back to Illinois. If you pick that first option and you waive your right to extradition, you will be held in custody without bond, that one for up to 30 days. But that 30-day time clock will not start ticking until the local probation allegation is resolved and or any other pending charges you may, or if you have other pending charges in Arizona, you have to wait till they're resolved, then 30 days on the tail end of that. So option 1 is waive your right to an extradition hearing, stay in custody for up to 30 days. That 30-day time period starts ticking depending on when your other case is resolved.
That's the one I want.
What's that?
That's the one I want.
Okay, but I do have to go through what the second option is because I need to make clear for the recording that I gave you your choice.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, the second option is you don't agree to waive your right to an extradition hearing. You demand to have an extradition hearing held here in Arizona. If you pick that option, I will set a hearing for November 18th at 1:30. Extradition proceedings in Arizona are civil, not criminal, so it doesn't sound like you're going to, but if you pick option 2 and you wanted to be represented by a lawyer, you'd have to hire a lawyer to represent you in the extradition proceedings. Even if you pick option 2, we discussed this already, but you're still not bond eligible, so you'd still stay in custody without bond. If you pick option 2, the time period that you remain in custody could be up to 90 days because that's how long it takes to get governor's warrants signed. So option 2, extradition hearing and governor's warrants before you're extradited could take up to 90 days. Do you understand the two options?
Yes.
Okay, and you still would like to waive your right and pick option 1?
Yes.
Okay.
And they did this, the last time I got arrested here, they did the exact same thing and then they dismissed it.
They didn't come get you?
No.
Okay. So you still want to waive, though, when you want to wait
Yeah.
that 30 days, you don't want an extradition hearing?
No.
Okay. All right. Because you are waiving legal rights that you are entitled to, it sounds like you might already know this, but I do need to ask you some questions for the recording. I just ask that you answer them out loud, please. Did you read the waiver of extradition paperwork
Yes.
on that big card? Okay. Do you understand you don't have to sign the waiver?
Yes.
Do you understand you have the right to an extradition hearing?
Yes.
Do you understand that you do have the right to hire a lawyer if you elect to have a hearing?
Yes.
Do you understand you have the right to demand that governor's warrants are signed by the Arizona governor and the Illinois governor before you could be returned in option 2?
Yes.
Okay. And you wish to give up those rights and sign the waiver of extradition paperwork?
Yes.
Has anybody threatened you or made you any promises in exchange for your signature on the waiver?
No, Your Honor.
Have you had any drugs, alcohol, or medication, or is there any other reason that you believe you are not able to waive a legal right tonight?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then I will find that you are knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily waiving your right to an extradition hearing. I will sign the waiver once you sign it. Once we both sign, I will notify Maricopa County to tell Illinois you're ready to return. They'll have 30 days after any local cases are resolved to come get you. Sounds like you already know the deal, but if they don't, then you're released on that Illinois warrant.
Can you ask me why did they do that? Just like they didn't come and get me last time I did the same thing in the courtroom.
Yeah, I don't know.
They let me stay till I went to my first court date, and then it was dismissed when I got there. They took me to some room to tell me that it was dismissed though. They took me there. I mean, I just didn't even know I had a court date or nothing. They just pulled me in there and said that I had been my warrant.
Well, it wasn't really dismissed, which is why you were rearrested on it. But what happens when somebody's picked up on an out-of-state warrant here in Arizona is the first thing that always happens is our either law enforcement or MCSO or our judicial staff confirm with the issuing state that the warrant is valid and that before we pull you into the courtroom, they're willing to extradite you. So in this case, what happened is we said, hey, Illinois, is this a real warrant? They said, yes, it's still a valid warrant. We said, okay, if we hear this guy on this warrant, will you come get him? And they said, yes, we will. Sometimes states change their mind. So then if you say, okay, I want a hearing, before you're here, if you had picked option 2 and I set that extradition hearing, before that hearing on November 18th, the same thing would have happened.
But I didn't. I choose this option the first time too.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
And then they still, maybe they changed their mind and they said, I know we said we would come get him and I know it's been 6 days or whatever, but we don't want to come get him anymore, cut him loose.
So that could happen again then, right?
It could, yeah. And let me just tell you, Mr. Roach, that...
Because it's like, I don't know.
It looks like the warrant was issued in 2017.
Yeah, and that was like a year after the thing, so...
So here's what I'll tell you. Regardless of how many times this keeps happening, until the underlying probation case in Illinois is resolved, this will remain a valid warrant. So even if they decide tomorrow, never mind, we're not going to come get him, go ahead and release him on the Illinois warrant, nothing stops our officers, or if you go to Colorado, California, nobody is stopped from picking you up on it again. So if that happens, and you're released on this warrant, my best piece of advice to you would be try to either work with a lawyer or family or friends back in Illinois to see what you can do to get the underlying situation resolved, because that's the only way to get rid of the warrant.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions, comments, statements before I ask you to come sign?
Is it true? Am I mistaken in saying that I chose the second option the first time because they?
I don't know. I don't know what happened the first time.
Do they, on either option, then do they call you if they dismiss that? Do they take you to that hearing and reverse?
Well, yeah. So when you told me that, I had sort of assumed that you picked the second option, and that before that court hearing, Arizona tried to confirm again that it was valid and they were willing to extradite, and Illinois probably said, no, we changed our mind, we're not going to extradite. So then they took you out and released you.
So that could happen again. That could happen again then.
It could happen again, yes. But if it does, I still encourage you to try to work with Illinois to get whatever the underlying issue is resolved.
Election day, could that have anything to do with it?
I don't know enough about Illinois law.
Okay.
I mean, maybe, maybe not. But if you think it might, I would wait till after the election and then see what Illinois says about whether or not that's valid or it's still an active probation.
You will do that? You'll check?
No, I can't. I'm saying you should. After Election Day, if you think that the election would have an effect on the validity of the underlying probation case, check with somebody in Illinois and see if it's still going on. Because getting the underlying probation matter in Illinois resolved, however you do that, is the only way to stop this from continuing to happen. Okay, anything else, Mr. Roche?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you'll step up to your right, I need you to actually sign that waiver. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Kevin Semilla.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mejia. You are here tonight on a grand jury warrant. A state grand jury was convened and found probable cause to return an indictment against you. That indictment contains 1 count of drive-by shooting, a Class 2 felony, 1 count of discharging a firearm at a residence, also a Class 2 felony, and 1 count of disorderly conduct involving weapons, that one's a Class 6 felony. According to the grand jury warrant, those offenses are alleged to have been committed February 18th of 2024. I have appointed a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearing on the grand jury warrant will be an arraignment hearing November 12th at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. I have affirmed the bond on the grand jury warrant. It is a cash-only $100,000 bond. If you post that bond, you will be released to pretrial services for electronic monitoring, which means if the bond is posted prior to your physical release from custody, you will be affixed with an ankle monitor. If you post that bond and you're released with that ankle monitor, you are prohibited from returning to the scene where the underlying events allegedly took place. Contact with alleged victims, witnesses, co-defendants, if there are any of those and you know who they are. And you are prohibited from possessing any weapons or drugs without a valid prescription if you are released from custody. Do you understand those conditions?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mejia. You can step back and get your paperwork. Alejandro Munoz Barraza, thank you, sir. Then could I please have Cornelius White to one of those chairs? Good evening. Can I have your name and date of birth?
Alejandro Munoz, 12.
Munoz, you are here on allegations of new charges. The allegations against you are 1 count of preventing or interfering with the use of a telephone in an emergency, that is a Class 2 felony, and 1 count of aggravated assault by impeding breathing, that's a Class 4 felony. I have found probable cause to support these offenses, and I've appointed a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearings will be a status conference November 8th and then a preliminary hearing November 13th, both at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. Mr. Munoz, based in part on a written recommendation from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, I have imposed a secured appearance bond of $25,000 on these allegations. Secured appearance means you can use a bonding company to post that bond if you choose to. If you do post that bond, you will be released to pretrial services for electronic monitoring. That means if you are released from custody, before your actual release, you will be affixed with an ankle monitor. If you post that bond and you're released on that ankle monitor, you are prohibited from returning to the scene where the underlying alleged events took place. You cannot have any contact with alleged victims or witnesses. You are prohibited from possessing any weapons or drugs without a valid prescription. And whether or not you are released from custody, you are strictly ordered to comply with the terms of any orders of protection that have been or will be served upon you. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Munoz. You can step back and get your paperwork. Cornelius White to the podium in the courtroom, please. Mario Tapia, if you would please work your way to the chair. Good evening, sir. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Cornelius White. Oh,
Thank you very much, Mr. White. You are here on a probation violation warrant. A petition to revoke your probation was filed. That petition to revoke alleges that you have violated term 1 of your probation. I've appointed a lawyer to defend you in the probation proceedings. Your next court hearing will be a revocation arraignment November 12th at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. I have imposed a secured appearance bond on the probation warrant of $20,000. If you post that bond and you're released from custody, you are required to stay in the state of Arizona. You are also prohibited from possessing any weapons or drugs without a valid prescription if you are released. And if you are released from custody, you will then have 24 hours following your release to contact your probation officer. Do you understand those conditions?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. White. You can step back and get your paperwork. Mario Tapia to the podium in the courtroom, please. Corey Smith, if you would please work your way to the chair. Good evening, sir. May I please have your name and date of birth?
Mario Tapia.
Thank you, Mr. Tapia. You are here on a bench warrant issued by the Superior Court when you failed to appear at a sentencing hearing in an existing felony drug case. In that existing drug case, you already have a lawyer assigned to defend you. That lawyer will continue to represent you in this matter. Your next court hearing in this existing case will be a status conference November 8th at 8:30. It'll take place in the Superior Court downtown. I have affirmed the bond on the trial court's warrant. It is a $4,500 secured appearance bond. If you post that bond and you are released from custody, you are prohibited from possessing any weapons or drugs without a valid prescription. Do you understand those conditions?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tapia. You can step back and get your paperwork. Corey Smith to the podium in the courtroom, please. Christopher Salas to the chair. Good morning, or excuse me, good evening. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Corey Smith, 40.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. You are here on an arrest warrant that was issued after a direct complaint was filed. A direct complaint is a written document that alleges new allegations against you. The allegations alleged in that direct complaint are 1 count of trafficking in stolen property, a Class 2 felony, and 1 count of burglary, a Class 3 felony. The direct complaint alleges both of those offenses were committed April 13th of 2024. I have appointed a lawyer to defend you against those allegations. Your next court hearings will be a status conference November 8th and then a preliminary hearing November 13th, both of them at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. Mr. Smith, I have affirmed the bond on the warrant. It is a $15,000 secured appearance bond. If you post that and you are released from custody, you are prohibited from returning to the scene where the underlying events giving rise to these allegations took place, if you know where that location is. You are also prohibited from having contact with any alleged victims or witnesses, again, if there are any and you know who they are. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. You can step back and get your paperwork. Christopher Salas to the podium in the courtroom, please. Eric Tamplin to the chair.
Christopher Salas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salas. You are here on an allegation of a new charge. The allegation against you is 1 count of stalking. It is a Class 5 felony that I have found probable cause to support. I have appointed a lawyer to represent you. Your next court hearings will be a status conference November 8th and then a preliminary hearing November 13th. Both of them will take place at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. I have imposed a secured appearance bond of $5,000 on this allegation. If you post that bond and you are released from custody, you are required to stay within the state of Arizona while this criminal case is pending. You are also prohibited from returning to the scene where the alleged underlying event took place. You cannot have any contact with the alleged victim. You are prohibited from possessing any weapons or possessing or consuming any drugs without a valid prescription or any alcohol. And last, whether or not you are released from custody, you are strictly ordered to comply with the terms of any orders of protection or orders against harassment that have been or will be served upon you. Do you understand those conditions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Salas.
Is there any chance at a PR bond?
I'm sorry?
Is there any chance at a PR bond?
I don't know what that means.
Personal recognizance?
Oh, You're asking if I'm willing to remove the bond and release you on your own recognizance. I am not, given the nature of the allegations against you. I have substantial concerns about the safety of the alleged victim and an alleged witness in this case. So for those reasons, you will have to post that bond in order to be eligible for release. Any other questions?
Does someone else have to post a bond to a bondsman, or can I directly do that?
So if you want to go through a bonding company, you have the option of communicating with them directly. If you're interested in going that route, back in the facility, you can find a list of bonding companies posted in various places. If you can't find one, ask one of the jail officers. They can either give you one or direct you to one. Give one, two, all of them on that list a call. They can tell you specifically what their requirements are and what they would require either you personally or somebody else to do, or whatever your options are with them.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, sir. You can step back and get your paperwork. Mr. Tamplin, if you'll stay in the chair for me for one quick second, I do need to take a quick break to handle an urgent matter, then I'll call you into the courtroom. Okay, thank you all very much for your patience. My apologies for that delay. One more quick second, let me get back to my calendar, and then we will get back to it. Okay, Eric Tamplin, if you would please work your way into the courtroom. Joshua Denham, if you're not already, if you'd work your way to the chair. Thank you for your patience, sir. Can I have your name and date of birth?
Eric Tamplin, 0.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tamplin. You are here on allegations of new charges. Those allegations are 1 count of criminal trespassing in a residential structure, that is a Class 6 felony, 1 count of threatening and intimidating, 1 count of interference with judicial proceedings by disobeying or resisting a court order. Those 2 are both Class 1 misdemeanors. And finally, 1 count of criminal trespassing in the 3rd degree, that's a Class 3 misdemeanor. I have found probable cause to support these allegations, and I am appointing a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearings will be a status conference November 8th, and then a preliminary hearing November 13th. Both of them will be at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. I have imposed a secured appearance bond of $2,500 on these allegations. If you post that bond and you're released from custody, you cannot return to the scene where any of the underlying events took place, specifically the trespassing allegations. You cannot have any contact with alleged victims or witnesses, and you are prohibited from possessing any weapons or drugs without a valid prescription. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tamplin. I need to have your paperwork reprinted, so we'll swap it out and get it to you, but if you'll just step back to your left, we'll bring it out to you when it's ready.
Says a feet in the front left.
Thank you, sir. Joshua Denham to the podium in the courtroom, please. Joshua Oldham. If you're not already in the chair, if you'd work your way there, please. Good evening. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Joshua Ray Denham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Denham. You are here on a probation violation warrant. A petition to revoke your probation was filed. It alleges that you have violated terms 6, 7, and 21 of your probation. I have appointed a lawyer to defend you in the probation proceedings. Your next court hearing will be a revocation arraignment hearing November 8th at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. I have affirmed the bond on the probation court's warrant. It is a $2,500 secured appearance bond. If you post that and you're released from custody, you cannot possess any weapons or any drugs without a valid prescription once you're released. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You can step back and get your paperwork. Don't forget your Gatorade. Joshua Oldham to the podium in the courtroom, please. Brendan Jim to the chair. Good evening. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Joshua Oldham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oldham. You are here on a probation violation warrant. A petition to revoke your probation has been filed. It alleges that you have violated terms 4 and 5 of your probation. I have appointed a lawyer to represent you in the probation proceedings. Your next court hearing will be a revocation arraignment hearing. This says November 12th. Is that right, or should it be November 8th? I want to double check your hearing date, because everybody else's date has been November 8th, but yours says November 12th. So I want to make sure I get you to court on the right day.
Okay, yeah, thank you, I appreciate it.
She's going to check. So I'm going to get you the right hearing date, so don't walk away yet. But I have affirmed the bond on that warrant. It's a $550 secured appearance bond. So if you post that bond and you're released from custody, you'll still be required to attend that hearing, and I'll get you the right date here before you walk away. You'll also be prohibited from possessing any weapons or any drugs without a valid prescription.
I did just check, it is the 12th.
Okay, so your hearing date will be November 12th at 8:30. You'll have that in the paperwork, so keep that paperwork. You'll have your hearing date, time, address to the court, phone number to the court also should you need it. Do you understand all of those conditions?
Okay, then my next court date, I'll know, like, what violation I'm getting, like, what violation time?
Well, so the alleged violations are of term 4 and 5. At that hearing, the lawyer that I've appointed for you can tell you specifically what facts are alleged to have occurred that violated those terms, and that your lawyer will know specifically what those terms are. I think both 4 and 5 have to do with reporting to adult probation, maybe approved residences, maybe certain people that you can and cannot have contact with. But yes, at that hearing, your lawyer can tell you adult probation has alleged that you did X, Y, and Z, and that violated this term of your probation for these reasons.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. You can step back and get your paperwork. Brendan Jim to the podium in the courtroom, please. Dakota Loring to the chair. Good evening. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Yeah, Brendan Jim, January.
Thank you, Mr. Jim. You are here on a bench warrant issued by the Superior Court when you failed to appear at a status conference in an existing case involving felony trespassing and misdemeanor criminal damage allegations. You have a lawyer assigned to you in that case already. That lawyer will continue to defend you. Your next court hearing will be a post-warrant status conference. It is scheduled for November 6th at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. I have affirmed the bond on that warrant. It is a $500 secured appearance bond. If you post that bond and you're released from custody, I have also affirmed the prior conditions applicable to your release. Those conditions include that you not return to the scene of the alleged trespassing offense, that you not have contact with any alleged victims or witnesses, and that you not possess or consume any alcohol or drugs without a valid prescription if you're released. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jim. You can step back and get your paperwork. Dakota Loring to the podium in the courtroom, please. Dylan Hammond to the chair. Good evening. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Dakota Loring.
Thank you very much, Ms. Loring. You are here on 3 probation violation warrants. In all 3 cases, petitions to revoke your probation have been filed. You're here on 2 probation violation warrants. 2 probation violation warrants and a new charge. In the 2 probation matters, petitions to revoke your probation have been filed. Those allege that you have violated terms 3, 4, and 15 of your probation. One of the 2 also alleges that you have violated term 14. I have appointed a lawyer to represent you in both of those probation cases. Your next court hearing in each of those 2 cases will be November 12th at 8:30 in the probation court downtown. On the 2 probation warrants, I have imposed a total secured appearance bond of $850. It's $500 on one of the warrants, $350 on the second. The last matter that you're here on is an allegation of a new charge. That allegation is 1 count of narcotic drug possession, a class 4 felony. I have found probable cause to support that allegation, and I've appointed a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearings on the new charge will be a status conference November 8th, and then a preliminary hearing November 13th, both at 8:30 downtown. On that new charge, I have imposed a $150 secured appearance bond. So your total bond for all 3 of these matters will be $1,000. It is all secured appearance. If you post that bond and you are released from custody, you are prohibited from possessing any weapons or any drugs without a valid prescription. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Loring. You can step back and get your paperwork. Dylan Hammond to the podium in the courtroom, please. Austin Cole to the chair. Good evening, sir. Can I have your name and date of birth?
Dylan Hammond.
Excuse me. Thank you very much, Mr. Hammond. You are here on 4 different matters. The first one is allegations of new charges. Those allegations are 1 count of drug paraphernalia possession, a Class 6 felony, 1 count of obstruction, a Class 2 misdemeanor. I have found probable cause to support those 2 offenses, and also you are alleged to have committed 1 count of narcotic drug possession for use, alleged to be a Class 6 felony, but I have not found probable cause to support the narcotic drug possession allegation. My finding of no probable cause does not mean that narcotic drug allegation is dismissed. It is still possible that the county attorney will file charges on that, but what it does mean is that I have not considered that allegation in imposing release conditions. I have appointed a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearings on the new charges will be a status conference November 8th and then a preliminary hearing November 13th, both of them at 8:30 downtown. On the 2 new allegations that I have found probable cause to support, I have imposed a $500 secured appearance bond. The next 3 matters, or the final 3 matters that you're here on, are all probation violation warrants. In all 3 of those cases, petitions to revoke your probation have been filed. All 3 allege violations of terms 3 and 5. I've appointed a lawyer for you in all 3 of those probation cases. Your next hearing in each of the probation matters will be a revocation arraignment hearing November 12th at 8:30. In all 3 probation matters, I've imposed a $250 secured appearance bond each. So your total bond for all 4 matters will be $1,250, all secured appearance. If you post that and you're released from custody, you cannot possess any weapons or any drugs without a valid prescription. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hammond. You can step back and get your paperwork. Austin Cole to the podium in the courtroom, please. Katrina Lopez to the chair. Good evening, sir. Can I have your name and date of birth?
Austin Roger Cole, 11.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. You are here on a probation violation warrant. A petition to revoke your probation has been filed alleging that you have violated terms 3, 5, and 15 of your probation. I have appointed a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearing will be a revocation arraignment hearing November 12th at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. I have affirmed the bond on that warrant. It is a $250 secured appearance bond. If you post that and you are released, you are ordered not to possess any weapons or any drugs without a valid prescription. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cole. You can step back and get your paperwork. Katrina Lopez to the podium in the courtroom, please. Roy Guzman to the chair. Good evening. May I please have your name and date of birth?
Katrina Marie Lopez.
Say the year one more time. Ms. Lopez. You are here on a probation violation allegation. The allegation is that you have violated terms 3, 12, and 15 of your probation. I have appointed a lawyer to represent you in the probation proceedings. Your next court hearing will be a revocation arraignment November 12th at 8:30 in the probation court downtown. I have imposed a $250 secured appearance bond in this probation matter. If you post that bond and you are released, you are ordered not to possess any weapons or any drugs without a valid prescription. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lopez. You can step back and get your paperwork. Okay, Mr. Guzman, if you'll give me one quick second, I need to take another small break to handle one urgent matter, and then I'll call you in. Okay, thank you all again for your patience. My apologies for that delay. Mr. Guzman, I'm ready. Yep, if you'll work your way in, please. And then Darius Curry, if you're not already, if you work your way to the chair. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
My name is Roy Guzman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Guzman. You are here on allegations of new charges. The allegations against you are 1 count of dangerous drug possession, 1 count of narcotic drug possession. They are both Class 4 felonies.
Yeah.
I have found probable cause to support those allegations, and I've appointed a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearings will be a status conference November 19th, and then a preliminary hearing November 22nd. Both of those will be at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. I am releasing you to the direction of pretrial services, so you will be released from custody. You do not have to post a bond, but once you are released, you will be responsible for getting yourself to those court hearings.
I promise I'll see you.
Okay. You will also be required to contact pretrial services. So with your release paperwork, you're going to get a little packet from pretrial. Please keep that. It'll have their contact information in there. Once you get out, please make sure you use that and contact them. Okay, well, come on back because we're not quite done yet. Okay, last, once you're released, you are prohibited from possessing any drugs without a valid prescription.
All right, then, ma'am.
Okay, understand all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Mr. Guzman. You can step back. Darius Curry to the podium in the courtroom, please. Samuel Hood to the chair. Good evening, sir. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Darius Curry, August.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. You are here on an arrest warrant issued after a direct complaint was filed alleging new allegations against you. The allegations in that direct complaint are 1 count of narcotic drug possession, a Class 4 felony, and 1 count of drug paraphernalia possession, a Class 6 felony. I have appointed a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearings will be a status conference November 19th and then a preliminary hearing November 22nd, both at 8:30 downtown. I am releasing you to the direction of pretrial services, so similar to the last gentleman that was up here, you will be released from custody. You do not have to post a bond. But once you are released, you will be required to get yourself to both of those court hearings, and you will be required to contact pretrial services. So please keep the packet that you get with your release paperwork. In there will be their contact information. So once you get out, use that, give them a call. Once you are released from custody, you are also prohibited from possessing any weapons or any drugs without a valid prescription. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Curry. You can step back and get your paperwork. Samuel Hood to the podium in the courtroom, please. Jerry Ayers-White to the chair. Good evening, sir. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Samuel Hood, 4th.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear your date of birth. One more time, please. Thank you, Mr. Hood. You are here on 2 different matters. The first matter that you're here on is allegations of new charges. Those allegations are 1 count of dangerous drug possession, that's a Class 4 felony, 1 count of tampering with physical evidence, and 1 count of drug paraphernalia possession. Those last 2 are Class 6 felonies. I have found probable cause to support those allegations, and I've appointed a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearings on those new charges will be a status conference November 19th and then a preliminary hearing November 22nd. Both of those will be at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. On these new felony allegations, I am releasing you to the direction of pretrial services. So no bond, you will be released from custody on these charges, but once you're out, in addition to attending those court hearings, you will also have to contact pretrial services. So keep the packet that you get with your paperwork so that you have their contact information. You can call them when you get out. The second matter that you're here on is a failure to appear warrant issued by the Buckeye Municipal Court. That is in a case involving driving on a suspended license, misdemeanor allegations. In that case, because it is a misdemeanor case, you're not entitled to a court-appointed lawyer. So if you don't already have a lawyer defending you in that Buckeye misdemeanor case, but you want one, you'll have to hire a lawyer at your own expense for that case. Your next court hearing on that Buckeye matter will be an arraignment hearing November 19th at 8:30 in the Buckeye Municipal Court. On that warrant, I'm releasing you on your own recognizance. So in both of these cases, you're going to get out of custody. No bond has to be posted. But please make sure that you contact pretrial services on the new felony allegations once you're out. And once you're released from custody, you are prohibited from possessing any drugs without a valid prescription. Okay. Do you understand all of that information?
I do.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hood. You can step back and get your paperwork. Okay. Jerry Ayers-White to the podium in the courtroom, please. Brandy Pack to the chair. Good evening. Can I have your name and date of birth?
Jerry Dwayne Ayers-White, 11.
Thank you, Mr. Ayers-White. You are here on a failure to comply with court terms warrant issued by the Surprise Municipal Court. It looks like the underlying allegation in that case is disorderly conduct. I am not making any orders regarding your entitlement to counsel in this case. If you are entitled to a court-appointed lawyer and you don't have one already, that order needs to be made by the surprise judge, and that'll happen at your next court hearing. Your next hearing on this warrant will be an arraignment hearing December 3rd at 1:30 in the Surprise Municipal Court. I am releasing you on your own recognizance, so you're going to get out of custody on this. That hearing date is December 3rd at 1:30. It's kind of a ways out, so please make sure that you keep that paperwork and do whatever you have to do to keep track of that date, because if you miss that hearing, a new warrant's going to be issued, and then you'll have to come back here on that new warrant. So do whatever you have to do, whether it's put it in your phone, tack it up on your wall, so don't miss that court hearing date. Be in the Surprise Court December 3rd at 1:30. Okay, do you understand that information?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ayers-White. You can step back and get your paperwork. Brandy Pack to the podium in the courtroom, please. Cesar Rocha to the chair. Good evening. Can I have your name and date of birth, please?
Yes, Brandy Pack, 38.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pack. You are here on an allegation of a new charge. That allegation is 1 count of dangerous drug possession, a Class 4 felony. I have found probable cause to support that allegation, and I've appointed a lawyer to defend you. Your next court hearings will be a status conference November 19th, and then a preliminary hearing November 22nd. Both of them will be at 8:30 in the Superior Court downtown. I am releasing you on your own recognizance on this allegation, so you will be released from custody. That means you will be responsible for getting yourself to both of those court hearings. Once you are released, in addition to attending those court hearings, you are ordered not to return to the scene where you were arrested on this offense, and you cannot possess any drugs without a valid prescription. Do you understand those conditions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pack. You can step back and get your paperwork.
Thank you.
Caesar?